The Addiction follows Kathleen Conklin, a young philosophy student at New York University who, after being attacked and turned by a vampire, is sent into a downward spiral of addiction. This film follows her descent into darkness. Shot entirely in black and white, stylistically it's far more of an art house film than it is a strict horror movie. It's more focused on being a meditation on the nature of sin and heroin abuse than it is on producing a typical vampire film. Due to this, the dialogue is purposefully contrived and a little verbose at times. Conversations don't flow particularly naturally, with the onus being on characters making broad philosophical statements that require the viewer to pause and ponder their meaning rather than the relationships between the roles. In this way, it's fairly similar to Andrei Zulawski's Possession. The film is treated and appreciated as an intellectual art piece rather than on its entertainment value alone, relying heavily on symbolism and metaphor. Kathleen, rather than drinking blood, chooses instead to intravenously inject it. Her withdrawal process is harrowing in its similarity, culminating in Kathleen violently thrashing her body around her apartment, repeatedly screaming with conviction and rage that she will not submit, only to succumb to the addiction once again. When out hunting for victims one night, Kathleen is apprehended and kidnapped by another of her kind, played brilliantly by Christopher Walken, who sadly is criminally underused in this film, considering especially how his scenes are by far the most compelling. Walken's character informs Kathleen that he has learnt to survive on a small ration of blood, and has learnt because of this to live like a human being again, holds down a steady job and moves through life unnoticed. A polarizing parallel to her own existence, Kathleen to Walken is what a homeless junkie is to a functioning addict. Throughout the piece there are many references to the inherent and inescapable evil of mankind. On numerous occasions we're met with frames and sound bites of Nazi Germany and Hitler's speeches. Kathleen visits an exhibit on the Holocaust. We are bombarded with the idea that evil is so deeply entrenched in man's nature that it can only either be contained or released. This is solidified in a quote towards the film's climax that reads, "We are not sinners because we sin because we are sinners." Ultimately, I enjoyed The Addiction, although I found it to be mildly heavy-handed in its delivery and at times quite pretentious. That said, Lily Taylor's performance as Kathleen Conklin was excellent, and is certainly an interesting allegory on dependence and addiction. As to if I would recommend this film to anyone, I wouldn't recommend it to anyone who's looking to watch a horror film purely to be entertained. If you're interested in seeing a different take on the vampire mythos with poetic, philosophical, albeit pretentious dialogue, I think you'd find something to enjoy here.